Yeah, very nice, Nintendo. I see what you're trying to do, trying to buy me off with a free backpack so that I give the Switch 2 good coverage and press. I mean, everyone knows if you're going to buy me off, it should be at least a slightly better quality backpack than this. So we just got back from the Nintendo Switch 2 experience in Dallas, Texas. They did 3 of these, one in New York, one in LA, and one in Dallas for over the course of like 3 weeks. That's why I'm not in the studio. We're actually in a hotel room, and this is the Fabulous Lourdes. Say hi.
Hello.
And yeah, it was interesting checking it out. Obviously, if you've seen my last video, I've been a little bit negative on just all 3 companies, including Nintendo. And it's like, why would I go? Well, I already got the tickets in advance. And I want to try and give it a fair, objective look at the expense to kind of see if maybe it wins me over or not. And so, yeah, we kind of went to the event, and there was a lot of people there, obviously. And well, should I just start off with explaining how the event goes? Like, what do you think?
Yes, but for me it was a great experience because technically it's my first time ever going to those kind of activities.
In all fairness, it was my first time going to a game convention like this as well, so...
Yes, but you are more like into games, video games and stuff like that, me and never.
Sure.
So trying like to experience this for the first time and play some games for the first time, and then the expectation I had wasn't that good, but I'm glad I was wrong about the expectation from the activity. So far it was...
Yeah, you were telling me you had a lot more fun than you were expecting to have.
Yes, I did.
And so that was pretty good. And I did have fun at the event. The team members were pretty cool. I guess you call them team members, the
yes.
Nintendo staff. They weren't very helpful on like some of the technical questions I had. I wanted to know if they fixed like a charging issue that there's been with like all Nintendo Switches, where if you use too strong of a charger, it'll burn out the battery.
Yeah.
And you have to use like a specific watt charger. Sometimes like just a standard cell phone charger will work, but you gotta make sure that it's low charge as well. And so I was kind of curious if they had fixed that, and like the most technically know-all guy there kept saying you would have to check the Nintendo website for that information, which is just keyword for don't ask about it, I can't answer that, and you could go try find it yourself on the Nintendo website, which is not the best way to get information like this. I will say though, we were like kind of going in, we went through the line, and they had it timed out so that whenever they had a group go through, they had a certain amount go through, then they stopped it, and then they had people hold and wait for like 15 to 20 minutes so that everyone could get the full experience at the same time. And so like the first entrance area was basically showing off the handheld itself and letting you pick it up, hold it. None of these were actually working units. They were just like kind of off, and you could pick it up and hold it. I actually brought this with me, my custom Switch, so that I could compare it size-wise, and all the team members loved this Switch. It's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Yeah. And so that was one of the reasons why I brought it, because I wanted to kind of show it off. But
which you did.
Yeah,
so.
And I also wanted to compare it by size, because one of my criticisms of this Switch is for my hand, which is not an unusually large hand, it's kind of small. And so with the Switch 2, the size was much more comfortable in terms of my thumb like ratioed my fingers. I just
And
have my foot there.
it's more lighter than this one.
Oh, I didn't think it was lighter than this.
Yeah, it is. Cause
Really?
when I feel it, it was like, okay.
Well, were you feeling it with this or in the case?
No, like with
Okay.
this, and then the Switch 2. The Switch 2 is kind of lighter, and then if you don't pay attention, you might like fall or something.
Well, I'd have to pick it up again. I didn't think it was lighter. I thought it was like a couple ounces heavier than this, but I could be wrong about that. And so I talked with the person who was showing it off. We got to play with the like magnetic disconnect thing. On the original Switches, it's on like a track that you slide off, and it always felt like if you put any pressure on it, you could just kind of break it off. It was the best design they could come up with at the time back in 2018, but over the years people have just kind of like, yeah, this isn't the best design. And so I was kind of curious how the new design was going to be, and actually playing with it, it's very nice. I did not feel any of that wiggle. I didn't feel like I could break it off if I wanted to. I'm sure with the proper amount of force you could take it off, but it's just held by magnets, and the little button that you use to disconnect it, it's literally just a thing that pushes it away from the magnet. So really, probably you could just pull it off if you want to, and you wouldn't break anything because it's literally just held on with magnets. I didn't see any like clip or lock thing that kept it on, and so I thought that was kind of interesting, and also probably will save them from having to do a lot of repairs down the road. So I thought that was cool. I liked how it felt in my hand, and one of the funny things, and I will mention this later on, is with a lot of the team members, I told them my biggest gripe with the console is not the cost of the console. Because I said the PS5 was $500, the Xbox Series X was $500 when they first came out. So the fact that the Switch was going to be $450 was not an issue for me. So I did not see that as being a huge deal breaker. It costs you so much, even though it's $320 in Japan, but around the world it's $450. Like, honestly, you guys could drop that price to how even $350, and you'd probably do pretty well. No, my biggest deal breaker, and I told like every team member that I encountered this, is the cost of the games and the fact that Nintendo never drops the price of their games. And like the common thing I heard, you can attest to this, they all said that's the most common thing we've been hearing, and it's like, that's a good thing, because if that's the most common thing they have been hearing, there's the ever so slight chance that they may decide to, okay, you know what, we're going to drop the prices on the games, you know, from $80 and $90 to like maybe $70 or $80, or it'd be nice if it was $60 and $70.
But it's still not expensive though?
It's still expensive, but at least it's them saying, okay, we see that we screwed up. And I mean, like, we'll get to Metroid Prime in a little bit, talking about experience playing that. But, like, Metroid Prime, I could see myself saving up, like, $60 to finally get it at one point. I don't see myself saving up $80 to get a basic edition of Metroid Prime 4. So, it's just, it's a lot of money. And very rarely do I ever want to spend that kind of money on one game. So, but we were talking, and none of them were like offended when I said that. It's like, no, we hear that a lot. We've been hearing that a lot. We understand. And so, I got the impression with something that happened later on. I don't want to talk about it now. I'll talk about it at the end of the experience. They were using this experience to kind of gauge what people's thoughts were about this. This
was kind of a survey they were doing.
I initially thought this was just, hey, we're going to try and get people to like pitch this for us, so come look at it. We're going to hype it up. And there is a little bit of that with this event. But I really was getting a heavier feel of like, what were your thoughts about it? What did you guys think? And trying to gauge what people felt. about the games, about the console, about how it worked, and they wanted to kind of utilize these events kind of as a beta test. That was the feeling I got. What did you think?
Yeah, I think so, because when they asked the question and then the first, like, the lady asked me, like, what was, like, the game I didn't like most of the one I played.
Which we'll talk about a little bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about a little bit. I told her, and then she just have a sheet of paper, and then she just, okay. And then I realized all of the games they have inside is on the list, and then people, like, be checking stuff. So for me, I think it was more like a survey, so for them to know exactly what to do, or which game to come out, or what to modify on the game. So which we will talk later on.
But so we get done with the first section, and then we move on to Mario Kart World.
Yeah.
And like in my last video, I did not hold anything back. I was very clear. I never really liked Mario Kart. I've been very open about that with my last video. I thought it would. I don't get the love some people have for Mario Kart. I have a Mario Kart game. I don't have all of them like some Mario Kart fans do. And so hearing people go nuts over there's a new Mario Kart coming out, it's like, eh. So we start playing around with this, and we start off playing with it on a 4K TV. We don't play handheld first. We play it on a 4K TV, and I will admit it looked very nice. Definitely, I was noticing some anti-aliasing. That's, if you're not familiar with anti-aliasing, it's when you have like the edge of like someone's arm, and you look up close and you see like little blocks and like little like razors on the edge of like a line. And the better anti-aliasing is, the smoother it is, but the more demanding on the system it is. So if you're having issues with the system running properly and you're like running on PC, you could drop the anti-aliasing and it'll look a little rougher, but it'll run much smoother. Okay. And so I was noticing some anti-aliasing on the 4K display with Mario Kart World running, but the game was moving very smooth and slick, and it did look nice.
It did.
And it did have some nice line to it. So we played a match of Mario Kart on the TV, and so for like first time ever playing Mario Kart, I got first place with 24 other bots. I was thinking, do they have like assist features on? And then while we were playing our second game session, the experience member that was with us was saying, yeah, we do have some assists on to help people have a more enjoyable experience. Like, okay, that makes more sense, because like there's no way I'm just naturally better at Mario Kart because I played Mario Kart with people before, and I'm always like 12th, 8th place. I'm not good at Mario Kart, okay? But like the other, it's just like I'm at number one. Well, what? And so we played it a second time on handheld. It's the only time in the entire experience you actually get to play something in handheld mode. And there's this metal chain connected to the device because they don't want anyone trying to steal it. Although the security was pretty solid there. I would be impressed if someone could have gotten anything out of there fast enough. But I mean, yeah, so those were like the only working units. Everything else was like under lock and key. And so actually playing handheld, trying to forget the fact that there was a metal chain like around the device, it looked pretty good on the 1080p screen. And yeah, I got confused with it. Okay, it was 1080p. I don't think they were running at 120 frames per second on the handheld device, but it was running pretty slick, and I kind of enjoyed playing it on the 4K screen a little bit better just because I could see more. But I would have to play a couple more things on the little 1080p screen to be able to compare it better and whatnot. And so I did enjoy how it felt in my hand. The thumbstick seemed to work fine. What do you think about the handheld experience?
It was quite interesting to play with it, but the feed I had was, even though it was attached where the chain has, like for me to drop it.
You were afraid you were gonna drop it.
To drop it. But only problem, I don't know, because it was my first time playing it. It was, they say you have to press A for the speed, which I did. But and then it's like I feel like I was, because I play like twice, as Chris said. But those 2 times I'm still like end up 11, and I was doing like speed more than the first time, and then I was like, okay, so it's A, it's for speed. And then they say when you have the mushroom, and then you throw the mushroom at the same time and you press A, you have more speed. But I had the feeling I was still staying the same speed. And then beside that, it was nice, quiet game, because the last time I played was a long time ago. It was like in Super Nintendo, but it was a long time ago.
Okay.
And then they have nothing of that like feature they have. But for that new generation that I'm start playing, it wasn't that bad. But the only issue I had was the speed. Beside that, it was Mario.
It's one of the things I've never really liked about Mario Kart. It's just, unless you're using the special boost, you never get that fast, and you're just going super slow. So they moved us on to the next segment, which was still on Mario Kart World. That was like the premier headliner game, not just at the event, but also like with the whole reveal of the console, with the whole showcase that they did at the beginning of April. Like they went all out. Mario Kart World is their premier game, and there's a game that we played later on I felt they should have been focusing on more. We'll get to that in a bit. But the next segment was more Mario Kart World, but the next segment was I wrote down the name just so I don't forget what it's called. The Knockout Tour. So they had us play a new game mode. At least they told me it was a new game mode that hasn't been in Mario Kart World. Sorry, it hasn't been in Mario Kart before. I almost said World. Called Knockout Tour. And what this is basically you start off with 24 players. They had 24 people playing this session. So you weren't going against any bots. And basically you have to be in front of the last 4 to be able to survive. If you're in the last 4, you get removed from the game. And so it's this elimination thing where it's almost like a battle royale, but instead of it being like an open world map and it's getting smaller, the back of the race is just getting closer and closer, and so you have to just try and stay in the front. I think I've seen that with other video games before, but with Mario Kart, it just clicked, in my opinion. I had the most fun I've ever had with Mario Kart in that one segment. I did not win. I got to number 8 before I was eliminated. But
you almost won. Cause
I almost got to 7 before the last line.
Exactly. Yeah. You were the second, you were the first, and after that just...
Yeah, I got it first a couple of times, but I mean, I totally could see Knockout Tour being a huge hit with this game. If the game sells. We'll have to wait and see in June if the Switch 2 actually sells and they actually keep the prices. But let's say it does sell. I totally see Knockout Tour being like the premier game mode on this overall game, because it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun trying to stay in front of the back of the line. There was a few times I almost lost it. I was just like, wait, I'm still in the race? Oh gosh, okay. And then when we got to 8th place, and I was like, am I still in the game? I'm still in the game? No, I'm dead. Okay. But so what did you think of Knockout Tour?
Well, you were able to play twice. I played once because I was in, let's see, 24, 20, I was between the 24th place and 23rd. So I tried, I think once I beat to be 19, and after that, I don't know what happened. Someone knocked me down, and I got back to 24. So when I lost, I was 23. I guess,
okay.
But it was fun actually. It was one of the game like, oh okay, so I just need to relax, and then you just have a drink like next to you, and then you just enjoy yourself. If you really love competition, to compete with someone, that's one of the game like you have to play it, because it's just like no, don't, because they let you know, and because it's 6 stop, if I remember. Yeah, it's 6 stops. So to pass the first one, you have to be like at least the 20th, not to be at the last 4. And then from each stop, and then you just get to, when you get to the 6th one, the last one, you have to be between the 4 first person that is in the. But if you really love competition, that's the game I advise you to play, because you were like, no, don't, and then force yourself to be first, but that won't be easy.
Yeah, and then one thing I was a little disappointed with how they handled the event was the Knockout Tour section. They said in this section you're going to play around with Knockout Tour and the open world free roam. And when they had it set up, it's like, okay, we're just getting the Knockout Tour set up, and I'm kind of like playing around, and come to find out, the waiting period, waiting for other people to set up, that was the open world free roam section, and I didn't really know that. I thought that was going to be after Knockout Tour. So when I asked them when we going to play around the free roam, it's like, oh, it was while you were waiting. And it's like, would have been nice, because I wouldn't have just been screwing around that little section. I would have actually been like trying to see as much of the open world as possible for that like 5 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking like, okay, we're just waiting for the race stuff, so I'll just kind of mess around here. And so they could have been a little bit clearer on that. One thing I did hear from one of the team members, I would say, don't quote me on this, but they seemed very adamant on this. They were telling me that you could play a very heavy, intensive, demanding game, and the battery will last 2.5 hours.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, for like a light game? It's like, no, like some of the most demanding games, so you can last about 2.5 hours on a single charge. I'm like, if that's true, that's impressive, because I have a PC handheld that I will do a favor on at a later date, and that thing only lasts 40 minutes on a full charge. So 2.5 hours for a demanding game is impressive, if that is even remotely true.
Yeah, and she repeat herself, like when you ask a question, then she say yes, and then she was like, okay.
After we finished with the last Mario Kart segment, they brought us into the game room, and the game room was in 2 segments. It was in the Donkey Kong Odyssey, Donkey Kong Bonanza like section, where they had like, I think 40 TV screens set up to play Donkey Kong Bonanza, and then it was the smaller sections where you actually had to get like a checkoff mark. You only could play 6 games, and one of the
6 games.
Yeah, and one of the guys in the Donkey Kong section said, "Go ahead and play the 6 games, and then you can come back and play the Donkey Kong Bonanza game without having to get, waste one of these squares on." So that's what we did. Mm-hmm. We forewent playing Donkey Kong Bonanza right away, and we actually played 2 different first games. The rest of the games we played together, but with your first game, you played Hogwarts Legacy. Yes. My first game, I played Cyberpunk 2077. So I noticed one thing about Hogwarts Legacy, but since you played it, you can go first and kind of explain your experience on Hogwarts Legacy. And also keep in mind, apart from the second playthrough of Mario Kart, everything was on a 4K TV with a controller. I think they were all Pro controllers we had, or the Joy-Cons. So we never got to play with any of the units in handheld mode. So it was all on 4K TVs. But so, yeah, talk about your experience playing Hogwarts Legacy.
It was interesting. It was like Harry Potter, and I love Harry Potter. And also, as I said earlier, it is technically my first time ever playing video game. Because I used to see my nephew playing and then some friends playing too. But I was always like, okay, what exactly what exactly they enjoy in this. You know, it's just like seeing people like shooting or them like in a mission and stuff, but experience it myself, I kind of see where the addiction came from.
Why your nephew's addicted to Nintendo.
Yeah. You know, and then, well, like he addicted in video game, like in general, but his main thing now is Switch, so it's kind of enjoying it. Which I sent him some video and he got crazy, so I love you, boy. Me playing this, I enjoy it because I lost at first, as you remember, before you went to play yours, and after that I said, okay, no, I have to try at least to have the experience myself, and then to know exactly to play the introductions they give you, and then which I did was a mission, and I completed the mission, and I was proud of myself because I realized that, and everything is, you just have to read. You know, I have a companion. Her name was like Poppy. She's not a witch too. You know, the like has a Harry Potter. And then the experience was kind of nice because I was like a wizard, and then I was able to do some spells, and I was surprised myself that I was able to manage the control without, like, you know, sometimes I do have problem to know, like, okay, you go left, and then
it didn't seem like you had a learning curve when you were playing it.
And I was like, oh, okay.
It seemed like you were just like getting the hang of it right away. I was like, oh, okay, maybe we should try to get you Hogwarts Legacy.
And then I think the cheat card they give us, like, you know, that in front of each game, really helped me too, because
that is nice. I would like to get some more cheat cards for just some of the games I own, because it was like, oh, that is really nifty.
Exactly. Yeah. And then the gentleman, the staff that was just like, oh, it's like, do you used to play this? I said, no, technically it's my first time playing. It's like, oh, what a surprise. And then I enjoyed it. It was my first game ever playing this. It's like, oh, okay. And I did really enjoy it. It's if I ever have to, I will definitely like buy that game. You know, it's not at the price that we say. You know, if it's a like reasonable price, I will definitely buy it and then sit and then play it. Yeah, me saying that.
It is on a lot of stuff, so it's not like it's exclusive for the Switch too. Actually, I think it's available on this.
Oh, okay.
So you know, we'll keep an eye out for you, because it seemed like not only were you getting the hang of it right away, but you were really enjoying it.
I enjoy it.
And you do like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So partway through her playing that, I realized there was only so much time we were allowed to actually be in the convention game room and play stuff before they like said, okay, purple wristband people can't play these anymore because they need to make room for the new groups coming in. So it's like, okay, I can't stay and watch her with every game. I actually have to go play something else, because we barely just got our 6 games played before our time was up. So partway through yours, I decided to go play something else. But real quick, one more thing on Hogwarts Legacy. I did notice that on the TV mode, the docked 4K TV mode, there was a lot of anti-aliasing and screen tearing for that game. And for supposedly the next generation of Switch, I was expecting a little bit better. Now, obviously, the lighting was much better than anything you would see on a Switch, but I was a little surprised at the quality of Hogwarts Legacy. I thought, okay, maybe it's just Hogwarts Legacy. So I went over to play Cyberpunk, because my sister is a huge fan of Cyberpunk, and I think she's played it like 4 or 5 times at this point. And when she found out that they were bringing Cyberpunk to the Switch too, she got excited. And then it's like, well, do you know they have them available on PC handhelds? And she's like, oh yeah, you can mod those, can't you? It's like, yeah, because they're PCs, and so you can do modifications and cheats on games like that, whereas you can't really do that on console games. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, console game, you can't really modify it. PC is like a whole nother world. So I was a little curious, what's the selling point to Cyberpunk on Switch 2 over getting Cyberpunk for a PC handheld. Because you can get a pretty decent PC handheld for around the same price as the Switch 2 at launch. So I was kind of curious what are some of the selling points. And I started playing the demo to Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch 2 in TV mode, dock. And again, like Hogwarts Legacy, I was a little disappointed. It was a little washed out. A lot of anti-aliasing issues. Frame rate seemed to stay at a steady 60, but there was a lot of like texture artifacting and whatnot. And like at the end of my 20 minutes, I was just kind of like, I don't know why someone would get this on the Switch 2, other than I already have a Switch and I've always wanted to play Cyberpunk. So, surprisingly, Cyberpunk was in a walled-off mature section with Yakuza 0, I believe it was. And those are the only two mature games they had there. And initially I was like, why is this section walled off? It's like, oh wait, there's a whole bunch of kids around here, so they need to be have a little bit of decorum. But the impressive thing, and I wish this was the case with all the games, they actually had a CD Projekt Red team member there. Not a Nintendo employee, an actual like team member from the developer of Cyberpunk 2077, CD Projekt Red. And I went up to him and I talked to him. He's like, what do you think? I said, I was honestly a little disappointed with how it ran. And he said, okay, I get what you're saying, but keep in mind, the section you played in, we made sure the demo was set to that section because it's the most graphically taxing and demanding section of Night City in Cyberpunk 2077. So if it can run that at a stable frame rate, it can run any part of the game at a stable frame rate. And when you said that, it's like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Another thing I want to point out with the Cyberpunk 2077 demo I played, it was the only game that did this. It said at the top, product not final. This is like alpha test gameplay. So I was not playing a final product of Cyberpunk 2077. And I actually appreciated that they were kind of upfront saying this is not the final product. And that was another thing, letting me think that this is more of like a beta test of the handheld and the games than it was trying to get influencers to like just sell this product for them. And so I was talking with them and I asked them straight up like, okay, so I have a PC handheld that can probably run Cyberpunk 2077. What reason would I have to get this on Switch 2 than on my PC handheld? And he said, well, there's a lot of features exclusive to the Switch 2 that we were not able to show today. That was another problem I felt they shouldn't have done at the event, is if there's exclusive Switch 2 features for a game coming out launch day, you should have shown them off at this event. And like one of the things was, you know, the Joy-Cons? Mm-hmm. He said with one of those in the game, you can actually swing a melee weapon with them. It's like, okay, that's kind of cool. And he also said we have certain like rumble support, and also you can use like mouse aiming for like the guns. It's like, okay, this should have been some of the things you showed off at this, because if he wasn't there, I would have come out and said Cyberpunk 2077 was like the worst game I played there, because there's no reason to get this on the Switch 2. And after I talked with the team member from CD Projekt Red, it's like, yeah, you guys should have showed that off. You should have been more clear about what the gameplay features are with this game.
Maybe that's the reason like they put in here, because it was a demo, so for you to know exactly and then to still have an idea on it. So they call it 2027 because it was come out like on 2027, or just like...
No, so the original tabletop game, which is based off, was Cyberpunk 2020, and the game they were making out was Cyberpunk 2077. So that tabletop game, it was like, it came out like 94 or something like that, and it's like, this is what the world would look like in 2020, and there's like robots and whatnot, and so going off of that, it's like, what would the world look like in 2077 based on that tabletop game? So that's why it's called that. And funny enough, it came out in 2020. Yeah. So we played a separate game, and then I met back up with you at Street Fighter 6.
Yes.
And you were already in the process of playing that game. And the team member said, I could just have you jump in with her. And the weird thing was, I don't think this is the case, but we were only allowed to play with like motion controls. We weren't allowed to play like hitting the buttons for like punch, kick, jump, and whatnot. And like the thumbstick did not work at all. You had to actually move the Joy-Con, and to attack you had to like move it up and down, and to do like a special you hit the
twist it like that.
And that was really throwing me off initially. And you were wiping the floor with me because you were playing it, but it looked really good.
It is
on the Switch too in docked mode. I'm actually tempted to get it on like Xbox or PlayStation 5 now, because it's just like, okay, this seems like a really fun game, and it's just, the controls really were throwing me. I would like to think that you can play with standardized controls, but the neat thing about a Switch is you can actually have like two controls, and so they wanted to design something that if you have one Switch and you have two kids, they can both play Street Fighter against each other. And so I totally get why they did that, and they were trying to show that off, and I'm glad they showed off that feature. And it was interesting finding you and the team member. He actually jumped in and played around against me, and I wasn't able to really notice anything off about the graphics because I haven't played the original release of Street Fighter 6 yet.
Okay.
So I would assume it's not as polished as like a PS5 or Series X version, or even a PC version for that matter. But it still was pretty slick. I didn't have any issues that I saw. I didn't think it looked that, rough around the edges. And like, I've never played Hogwarts Legacy, but I could definitely see the anti-aliasing on that game, and I didn't see that with Street Fighter 6. And so, what were your thoughts on Street Fighter 6?
It was interesting. It was interesting, and then, well, I'm talking about experience from the old like console, like Nintendo and stuff, because the other one, the new one, never played before. The some featured from the fighters like Bison, Honda, and then I remember like Honda has the like his hand that you can just do like that, right?
I think so. I'm not familiar with
Honda. On that one, technically it's not there. It is, but not has that you can beat someone with it, And then doing the control like lift up and then switch, turn around. It's interesting, but and at the same time it's kind of tiring, and then using the control like on the console, it's nice, would be nice, but it's like you doing like some exercises that you want to gym, like if you want to but besides that, it was Street Fighter, so it's fighting, I love fighting games, so it was fighting, and then it's frustrating because I don't like to lose when I'm playing Street Fighters.
I lost to her first time. She lost to me second time. I lost to her again, and so. And then, but what was it you said? You chose me, was like, don't you love me anymore? It's like, oh, so that's how we're gonna play it. Okay.
But then after that, like I won, and then I was like, okay, I was kind of tired because I've been playing this for I don't know, like a couple minutes, and then he came along, and I was like, okay, so you can play now. And then it was, if you love like fighting game and you love Street Fighters, you can. I don't think there's some features is they upgrade them, but it's still the same as from the beginning of the console until now. So, and then the graphic of the fighters, of course, they changed them, make it look like so more natural people, and real people, I said. And then just it is quite, you can buy that game if you want to.
I'll try to get us a copy. So then the next game we played is probably the one I was most impressed with, and that was Metroid Prime 4.
And I love it.
Yeah. Like, again, earlier I mentioned Nintendo's been spending so much time trying to make like their flagship game, Mario Kart World. Metroid Prime 4 should be their flagship game. I mean, because at that point, up to that point in the convention, I was thinking, is this the best Nintendo has to offer with the Switch 2? And then I got to Metroid Prime 4, and it's like, okay, I could see why someone would get a Switch 2 now. Because I did not see any anti-aliasing with that game, and in the dock mode, it was running at only 1080p, but it was running at 120 frames per second. And I normally don't like 120 frames per second because it feels like the game's on fast forward for me. But with Metroid Prime 4, oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful at 120 frames per second. And we also got to play around with the new mouse feature on the Switch 2. And like I said in my last video, I potentially see the mouse feature being a huge game changer for the Switch 2 if it's handled right. If developers actually put the effort to design games to utilize the mouse feature, I could see this being a huge aspect, especially with first-person shooters, because surprisingly the mouse worked great for something so skinny. And I was not thinking, man, I wish I had a normal PC mouse. It's like, oh, no, this is working as good as my normal PC mouse. Yeah. And being able to aim with Samus's gun arm in Metroid Prime 4 was really nice. And I absolutely loved the entire experience. Even the boss, I was able to make it to the boss level. I can totally see how the boss would have been a little bit hard to do with a thumbstick, but being able to aim with the mouse feature, the gun wherever I wanted, it was very slick and nice. And it's just after playing that, okay, Metroid Prime 4, if someone was to try and give me the Get a Switch 2, I could see them utilizing that game to try and sell me on the Switch 2. Not Mario Kart World, not Street Fighter, not Cyberpunk, Metroid Prime 4. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on Metroid Prime 4?
Oh, I love it. And then, and I played by myself. You know, I have one of the staff member here, but technically he helped, but not in the entire game. But I was able to manage the mouse myself, and then the other control in my hand. And then I did enjoy it though. First time playing this, it reminded me kind of when I started playing Doom, you know, and then I was like, okay, and also remind me also playing the game that we're playing now, the story that I'm making now.
Mass Effect.
Mass Effect.
Okay.
And it's kind of okay, so it's a mission, so I have to go there, and then it was quite impressive. And then I thought I wasn't gonna able to manage the mouse, but it was easy. It was easy, and then I did enjoy it, shooting. So yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought it was gonna be difficult, and I realized that let's see, how can I say that? I never knew that I was able to learn so fast, to play that video game, and then enter in that world they people are in now. And then I was like, okay, so and then with the cheat sheet they give us,
cheat sheets,
yeah, I just look at it and say, okay, and I was able to play, and then I never lose once. I just finished the part that we have to finish, and then the introductions, and I really enjoy it. I think it was one of the game that I love, beside the one we're talking about like that. But I love that one.
Yeah. I did notice that the team members, they did a pretty good job helping people. Okay, so you want to do this, this, and this, because they want people to play as much of the game as possible. And if someone's struggling with a certain part, they're not going to play that much of the game, and they're not going to be able to get their feedback on it. So most of the team members, like every TV screen had team member with it, basically. There was a few places like one team member operated 2 screens, but for the most part it was a team member for like every screen. And so the only reason why I think they're not making Metroid Prime 4 the flagship of the Switch 2 is because it's also coming out on the Switch 1. And I think because of that, Mario Kart World is exclusive to Switch 2, and that's going to be the flagship game. And I think it should be Metroid Prime 4, because Mario Kart World, as much fun as I had with the Knockout Tour, it's not going to make me buy a Switch 2. Metroid Prime 2, especially if the Switch 1 version's not that great optimized-wise, could potentially get me to buy a Switch 2. So, and we told the team members at the end of the show that, and they marked that down. But the next game we played, then what was E? Oh, the Mario Party thing. Yeah, the Mario Party Jamboree was the next one we played. So honestly, that's a Switch game that got updated for Switch 2, and it was a bunch of like little tiny mini games that were kind of fun. The one I didn't like the most was the table hockey, because you kept knocking me out of my defensive position.
I'm sorry, I was bad at that one.
And like every time I would get a defensive position, you knocked me out by accident, and you just open it up for their stuff to get it. And so
and
I openly blamed that on you.
I know.
And you're blaming it on me? He's like, yep, no, I'm blaming that on you.
I know. I think we lost like the other team was 16, we were like 4.
Yeah.
I know, my bad.
and then the next big game we played was a painting one.
Yeah.
Where like you compete against another team to paint. I didn't care for that much.
No.
But the two I did like was, there's a big game where you have to stack stuff on each other and see who could get higher.
The tower.
I kind of liked that one.
And I love the maze part.
The maze one was a lot of fun, where you have to get your little guy through the maze without shocking him. And so and we did all this, I think, with mouse support. So we did all it with the Nintendo Switch 2 mouse and trying to drag it.
Yeah.
We almost won. Almost won. But so that was a lot of fun. And then we went to the game that you did not like.
At all.
And I need to remember what it was called.
Dragon Race? Yeah, that's the
Drag and Drive.
Alright.
Yeah, Drag and Drive, I believe.
No.
They called it. And this is basically, if you don't know what Drag and Drive is, it's the wheelchair game where you use the 2 Joy-Cons to push each wheel, and you're playing basketball. And so you did not like it at all.
No.
I had a little bit of fun with it.
Not a little bit, you had fun with it.
And it's definitely, it takes a little bit of learning, but like actually getting the hang of like doing the wheelchair motion and then shooting the basketball in the hoop, I could see that potentially taking off and getting like getting an esport with it. But it also could go by wayside of like PlayStation All Stars and whatnot. What were your thoughts on it? Because you really hated that game.
I did, because if you don't want to go to the gym, as I told him, you want to go to the gym to pay your membership, play that game, because you're going to do shoulder, trust me. Because, slide the mouse like that to make the wheelchair like go out and then take the ball and then shoot. I only played this for 4 minutes, because you have the tutorial and after that you have 2 minutes game. I didn't even play the game. He was playing me now. I was still in the field, but I didn't play at all. It started hurting me right there, from here all the way right there, and I told him I'm not playing it. And then the staff was like, well, the 2 minutes game it's coming, so you have to say okay. But I stay at the corner of the field so everybody's playing, because I didn't like it, because I was hurting all the way right here, and it's like, oh no,
Yeah.
No, it's that game. It's for me for them to make money on that game. That won't be for me because I'm not gonna buy it. Nope.
So me and the other guy, we won the game.
Yeah.
And so luckily the other 3 players weren't that good. But me and the other guy, we just it's actually, once you figure it out, it's really easy to get hoops. You just need to be close enough, and you can just randomly throw your hand up in the air.
I don't mind the hoop. The thing is,
it makes a basket.
To put the chair with this like that. No.
And so me and the other guy, I think the final total was 13-3 or something like that.
I don't know, maybe the 2 others people they played me. No, I didn't. No. Mm-mm.
So it's not something that's oh, I gotta play that again. I had fun with it, but it's not something that I'm very actively trying to play again. And you obviously are not gonna play that again.
No. I'd rather go to the gym.
And then the last in the free play area was Split Fiction. And that one, which apparently they're making a movie of, that was a co-op game. And what were your thoughts on it?
I'm kind of dubious about it.
Well,
I don't know.
We never really got to combat.
No, I don't know, because that game it's literally 2 people that have to play. 1 people cannot play. It's literally 2 people, and then one it's more an technical fighting thing. One of the
characters is more combat based. The other character is more equipment tool based.
But I still don't, because it was the way we were playing it. I still don't see where exactly we're going. Because there was no fighting or anything, it's just opening and then go, open and go, to where?
Yeah.
And I was okay, but
it was mostly puzzles that we were doing, and I saw other people, they were in combat, so I know the game has combat, but we were just trying to get the hang of the puzzles, and it's puzzles you need someone else to activate. You can't do the puzzle all yourself. You need another person to do puzzles with. And so, I mean, if we ever rented that game, I could see us maybe trying it again, but it's not something that was okay, that was amazing, like Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, I still try to understand why you were stuck.
Because my character can activate something that changes their shift of gravity. So when I activate, I was on the ceiling, and your character couldn't do that. Your character had the whips, and my character changed gravity, and so
which I have to learn how to manage because of that thing.
But yeah, that team member helping us was super loud.
Yeah,
in a loud, crowded auditorium. He really was loud. And so after that, we went back to the Donkey Kong Bonanza section, and the team member that was with my screen was the most enthusiastic, happy to be there employee of any job I've ever seen. This woman loved her job. I mean, oh my gosh, she was losing her shit anytime my Donkey Kong got banana. She's yeah, we did it! I mean, it's I don't remember ordering a cheerleader, but I guess I have a cheerleader now.
No, she was great.
She was great. But I've never been a big Donkey Kong fan. It's I'll try it. And then I have to admit, the destruction-based physics, you're basically in this open map, and you can just punch through walls. And it's kind of the best I've seen since Battlefield Bad Company or Red Faction Guerrilla. Those are older games that had really advanced destruction-based physics, and that was something I was kind of hoping next gen PS5 Series X would start getting more into, and games still don't really do it. You see the one every now and then, and do it, but the big AAA titles, they're not really doing it anymore, and you saw that during the 360 PS3 era. So the fact that Switch 2 is doing it for one of their exclusive games, it's like, okay, kind of impressive and ambitious. And man, I had fun just destroying stuff with Donkey Kong. I mean, I had him just punch straight down to see how far we could go. And my teammate was like, okay, let's see how far you can go. And there are things you can't destroy. There's like certain walls
you cannot,
with a certain texture you can't destroy. Obviously, otherwise you would fall out of the game map. But I was surprised how big the actual box you're in went, how deep it went. And I mean, it's like, oh, you found a fossil. So they actually took into account people were going to just start messing around and just start digging nonstop. I could see people with a lot of time in their hands just start destroying the entire map and see how much of the map they could destroy. And like when they're done, the objective is like right above them and they can't get to it because they destroyed everything.
Yeah,
so
I think it's the kind of game too. If you have a frustrated day at work, I told you that, and then you like you were in a position that you couldn't speak up. Say, okay, I have something at home that I can go like past my frustration to, and then you just get home, not even have time to undress or anything because you have to to get out that frustration. Just open your game and then put like Donkey Kong and then you start like smashing things and then you don't need a lot, like 20 minutes 15 minutes, and then you're gonna be like whoosa, and then you just go along with your night because you're gonna smash things.
I do see that be a stress reliever game. I can totally see that.
It's to relieve your stress from like, even like it doesn't have to be work, like, a meeting with somebody, like you have a friend or whatever. You just like, okay, I have something like I need to do something because you cannot talk, you cannot speak up because that might ruin everything, and then just go okay, and then you get home, you plug your switch, you put Donkey Kong, and then you start smashing, and then you go. I love that one.
Yeah, it was more fun than I thought it had any right to be having. I mean, it's like, it's Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they've made so many Donkey Kong games, and they're like side-scrolling platformers, and so it's like, what's this? Donkey Kong Bonanza? I didn't give a shit during the reveal of that game. And so like, okay, we're allowed to play one more game. It's this Donkey Kong game, sure. And then we start playing, like, oh wow, those are actually really good destruction physics. Yeah. Like, I still don't care about Donkey Kong, but like just the destruction physics alone, really solid. So yeah, those were the games we played. So after finishing Donkey Kong Bonanza, we went to the exit, and they said, "Show us your cards." And we had gotten the impression from some of the team members that we were going to be getting like little, like gifts based on the game, and especially like with the wording here on this card. Customize your Nintendo Switch 2 experience by selecting up to 6 different games to play. Upon completion, redeem this gameplay passport for exclusive swag. So we had gotten the impression that not anything substantial, but like something a little bit tiny, like pins for each of the game. Like maybe a Metroid Prime pin, a Cyberpunk pin, and a Split Fiction pin. Stuff like that. We showed them our passports. They asked us which game do we like the best. I said Metroid Prime 4. What did you say?
Well, she asked me which game I dislike the best, and I told her like Drag and Drive. And then she took like the sheet that she had, and then she just put like okay. But apparently they've been doing that for each game because the sheet was full of them.
And did they ask you what game you liked the best?
No, because no, she didn't. She didn't. So I think she's the one that asked for the one that people dislike, and then the other woman like what you like the best. Yeah. So.
And I had told them. I can't remember if I already said this, but I had told them that I thought Metroid Prime 4 was the best, and that should have been the flagship title for the Switch 2, not Mario Kart World. But since Metroid Prime 4 will be available on this as well, that's probably why they're not making it the flagship title, because Mario Kart World is exclusive only to Switch 2. And so we got that, and then they gave us a little sticker for not for resale. So I'm not allowed to resell this, I guess. And then they gave both of us a backpack. And admittedly, it's a lot better quality than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be this very thin, cheap, like, super thin vinyl bag that could hold maybe a Switch, and that's it. Anything more, and you're going to break the straps. But this actually,
it's actually nice.
Pretty decent bag.
Yeah, I think it's a laptop bag too.
Yeah, you probably could fit a laptop in here.
A laptop in it.
I would be interested to see if my big ass laptop would fit in here.
It's kind of like good quality, and it's kind of black and red. So.
I mean, it's not going to make me buy a Switch 2 yet. Like I joked at the beginning of the video, if you're going to bribe me, you need to go slightly better quality on the bag. But no, it would be funny if like this had nothing to hold the Switch. They should have had like a compartment to hold a Switch. Yeah, this can hold a Switch.
Well, you
to the
have
side.
that compartment in front right there, and then you have like there's another pocket.
Yeah, so it obviously it was smart of them to make it able to hold a Switch 2 if you were to get a Switch 2.
Yeah.
And probably that bag is the only one of two things is going to happen. Either this is a limited run bag that they only made a certain amount for the event, and then they're not going to make it anymore. And you'll see these on eBay for like $300. Or the alternative, you see these for $50 on their website, and it's just like, okay, we're making 50 million of them, and they're not unique at all. You just, the people who went to the event got it for free. That's one of the two outcomes I see happening. But, so, with all that being said, did I have fun with the games I played? Yes.
Yes. Except Drive and Drag.
Yeah.
For me. But
I was not able to try out the two Zelda games just because they only had one TV for each game available, and it was always occupied. I never saw an opening for that. Whereas Metroid Prime had like 20 TV screens all set up for that. And of course, you know, Donkey Kong and Mario Kart, those had their own sections. I was a little surprised that there wasn't more screens for Zelda, because Zelda's one of their flagship titles.
I think it was like 3 TV for Zelda. Yeah, 3 TV for Zelda.
The middle one wasn't for playing on.
Yeah. And the one I disliked was like Dragon have so many, like I think 9 or 5 or 10 TVs that he has, like, because you know that side people like playing and other side people were playing, so yeah, it was 10 TV for them.
And like a lot of people are overlooking it, but I think it's really stupid. There's like a new button on the Switch 2 for interacting with like friends, party chat, talking to someone online. You can only use that if you have a Nintendo Online membership. On PlayStation, Xbox, PC, it's free. But on Nintendo Switch 2, you have to pay for it. And that's kind of sucky. That, you know, I get online, well, not really, but I understand why you would have online play locked behind there. But being able to talk to, like, a friend, that's stupid.
Yeah, it should be 2 different things.
Yeah.
You know.
And a lot of people have equated to, like, why can't I just use Discord? And it's like, yeah, you probably could through your phone. And so, but yeah, so that was kind of our time at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience.
Yeah, I can say, like, for my first experience, I did enjoy it a lot. Like, and then I came to the conclusion, as I said earlier, where the addiction come from. And then for some games, people like get crazy, and then they
your
just
nephew's gonna be so jealous of you. Her nephew's so big into Nintendo, and he's just like, when she's saying the stuff of like, "Hey, guess where I'm at?" He's just red face like that.
So, so that's an experience that I live for myself and for him too. And then it's like, okay, but I can't say I did really enjoy it, and I'm glad It will be what I'm saying. It's gonna be weird, but I'm glad I didn't put my expectation very high, because I said to myself, if I had put my expectation very high, I might be like disappointed, and then it was very low, and then the conclusion was very satisfying, and then I really enjoyed it. I love it.
Well, here's hoping that Sony and Microsoft do an event like this for their next consoles as well. Or even Microsoft's supposed handheld that they're coming out with later this year. That'd be cool if they did an event like this for that. But yeah, so that was our time at the Nintendo Switch 2 experience. If you went, what did you guys think? Say off in the comments down below. My name is Christopher Connell from 11 Hour Views, and our special guest, the Fabulous Lourdes.
The pleasure was mine to be here. This is my first time technically
doing a YouTube
video and everything like that. So thank you so much.
So leave a like, do the thing, subscribe, and do all that stuff if you can. And so the Galaven. And so yeah. I'm Christopher Connell, 11 Reviews, and that will be all for today.